Hi, I'm Hezron and welcome back to the Hezron Springer Show. This is episode 15. Let's start off the show by talking about rich kids. Listen, in this world, people will be born with different privileges. One of them is rich, okay? It's not your fault where you're born into or which family you're born into, but it's your fault where you're going to end up. But there's other privileges outside of just money though. Money's great, money's always enticing, but to just say, oh my god, he's a rich kid, he's overprivileged, is almost like saying, hey, he's 6 foot, well, that's unfair. Or he's really, really smart, that's unfair. There's loads of privileges which people have that give them an unfair advantage in the marketplace. But for whatever reason, rich kids' privilege get blasted the most. This is the one which people absolutely hate. And while we could be envious of how easy it is for these kids, we can't blame them because it's not their fault which family they were born into. So we can't take our frustrations out against them. Nepo grandbaby blasted as insufferable and talentless for moaning about her luxe life in new pop song directed by her Oscar-winning mum. She's the granddaughter of the Godfather director Francis Ford Coppola and daughter of Oscar-winning filmmaker Sofia Coppola. And now Romy Mars, 18, a fully fledged Nepo grandbaby and aspiring pop star, has released a new song in which she laments the emotional emptiness of wealth, fame, and red carpet glamour. Tilted A-listers, it details the hollowness of growing up in unimaginable privilege, complete with references to private yachts, LA mansions, and fake romances with other rich kids. In a truly on-brand move, the music video was directed by none other than her Oscar-winning mother Sofia, 54, whose big screen hits include Lost in Translation and The Bling Ring. This is what I really don't understand. Why are we shaming her mum for giving her daughter the best chance at life that she can possibly can? I mean, if you had an advantage right now in life and you were successful, rich, status and fame, wouldn't you help your own kids? Yes, you would. So why do we demonize successful actors, musicians, directors, rich people in general, which translate that wealth into helping their kids climb the ladder faster than everybody else? Because if we had that same privilege, we would do the same thing for our kids too. Let's be honest here. Let's keep it 100 real. Part of the reason we work so hard is to give more to our kids. Something I hear from a lot of poor people all the time is, I want to give my kids the life that I never had. Well, here they are. This family's doing that. But yet we're demonizing her by saying things by none other than her Oscar-winning mother. Well, duh. Why would she hire some random person to do it for her when she can use her own privileges which she's got? Why would she not use the privilege that she has to rocket launch her kid's success? I mean, just because there's lots of poor kids in Africa or in Asia doesn't mean that we just don't give our kids nice things. We don't take our kids on holiday. We don't help our kid with their preparation for their interview, or we don't pay for our kids' university fees because there's other people way worse than us. So obviously this family here is on a higher level than us, than the average in the West. And she's doing the same thing, but to us normalizers. But we could say the exact same thing about how we treat our kids compared to people that are going hungry every single day. A lot of what we do in this world is to do with envy and jealousy. But let's look at her latest music video and see what it's all about.
What?
Sorry, I just got my hair done.
I could reach for the stars, but once I get it, I want more. I can't fight love in war, so what's kissing you for? Made my car ride like Elvis, changes.
Decent beat so far.
Grant all of my wishes, riches to riches. And one day I'll be bored with everything that I've got. Get out of fancy clothes right after they get the shot. We create scenes from Titanic on a flying bridge yacht, just to feel something real, cause you're gone so I forgot. This golden, sunny West Coast, scenery plastic world. I miss being a real girl, sure, but I'm not a real girl anymore. I met an actor last night, he called me a star. Said he hates the spotlight, I hate his big red car.
I mean, it's pretty average. That chorus really isn't giving much now, is it?
Tasteless, nameless, famous, never ever on my wait list. We're judgy and bitter. He flies on my sister. I kiss her and whisper, look at my A-list. I'll be miserable after chasing what I don't want. You'll draw the line there, I'll sniff it up. I'll post pictures of a private jet wing.
But she does have a decent voice.
Nobody says what they really mean. They don't stop acting when they're off screen. But I'm 50% sure he's the real thing. I love this golden, sunny West Coast, scenery plastic world. I miss being a real girl, sure, but I'm not a real girl anymore. I met an actor last night, he called me a star, said he hates the
Well, the music, in my humble opinion, is just about above average. But the real problem here is people are demonizing her for what she's talking about being a Nepo baby and having this glamorous lifestyle, and life is really easy for her. But you know what's funny, guys? She's just talking about what her life is like. And because her life is full of all this privilege, doesn't mean she's a bad person. She's just telling you her daily reality. And she's saying stuff like she's not a real girl, because she's not. You know why? Something that we don't often admit to ourselves being normal people is that rich kids are sucked of the adventure of going from nothing to something. They can never have that dream, that hope, that desire, because they were already born at 100 miles per hour. Look, being born into a rich family is like getting your first car and the car is always driving at 100 miles per hour and you've never been at zero. So what's fun about driving a car or riding a motorcycle is the acceleration going from 0 to 100, not staying at 100. That's pretty boring. So the same thing goes with life as well. What's great about life is going from nothing to something. There's no more fulfillment in life than that. From going from rags to riches, getting a great family, marrying a good person, life is perfect. But when you've already had that life, you've already been sacrificed of the chance for a dream and a desire and hope, because you've already had all of what life has to offer. You've already been on the yachts. You've already been to the nice holidays. You've already had the nice cars, the nice clothes. There's nothing to look forward to when you're rich. And that's something that we don't often admit, and we don't often empathize with rich kids. You know, rich kids have their problems too. Just because they were born rich doesn't mean that life is just easy for them and life is just perfect. Not at all. And the irony is, when poor people rap about their poor lifestyle, that is glorified, okay? When poor people talk about how many girls they slept with or how many people they shanked or stabbed or killed on the street, that's glorified. What's glorified is being poor, having nothing, and mum's on drugs, you're rapping about that. Oh my God, we love you. What a saint. I've got 10 baby mothers. What a saint. Oh, I shanked this guy last night. Oh my God, you are a saint. I love your music. Oh my God, great. That's one extreme. But on the other extreme, when someone talks about how they go on yachts and life is meaningless and everything's really easy, that's now bad. I mean, morally and ethically, what's more bad? That lifestyle, with the rich lifestyle where they are provided for, we never go hungry, or this other lifestyle where you have 10 baby mothers, sleep around with 100 girls, you're always poor, your mum's on crack, your whole family's on crack, the whole family's dysfunctional, you don't look after your wife properly, you don't pay for your kids are on child support. What is a worse life? But for some reason, on these two extremes, like very, very poor from a poor neighborhood and very, very rich, only the poor one's glorified and the rich one is bastardized. Why? Because I guarantee if I could poll the world right now and I just told them to pick one out of those two, 99.9% of people would pick the rich lifestyle. Because no one wants to be poor. No one wants to be struggling every single day. But what is being poor and on drugs and smoking weed and doing lean, all these bad things, that is glorified. But this girl from a nice lifestyle, she's well-dressed, well-mannered from what I can see, she is bastardized. I mean, look at her there with her mum. The music video was directed by none other than her Oscar-winning mother, Sophia 54, whose big screen hits include Lost in Translation and the bling ring Romy and her mother, Sophia, pictured in 2020. Grant all of my wishes, riches to riches, and one day I'll be bored with everything that I got. Get out of fancy clothes right after they get shot. I completely understand where she's coming from. Because once you have everything, life becomes so boring, and she was born into a lifestyle where she already has everything. And while some have praised her for being self-aware or meta, others see it as a tone-deaf example of a celebrity offspring using their connections to produce content that ultimately flaunts the very privilege it claims to critique. What she's really saying is that being rich and being born rich isn't all it is cracked up to be. It's actually quite meaningless. And a lot of times poor people say that the rich have no empathy. But I would often say that the poor people have no empathy for being rich, okay? Because most rich people can have empathy for poor people, because most rich people, guess what? Were born poor. They were born normal. Most millionaires are self-made. So there's more rich people out there that understand the struggle than there are struggle people that understand rich. Let's be honest. It's hard for us to understand what it's like to just live in a lifestyle where you have private jets, car at 18, whatever car you want, Germans, nice clothes. That's hard to understand. But from what I've seen in my anecdotal life, more rich people can understand poor people than poor people can understand rich. That's what I've seen. Because more rich people were poor at some point in their life. She said of her parents, she said of her parents' ban on public social media, they don't want me to be a nepotism kid. I get that. I understand why they don't want her social media, because you get demonized for being successful. The irony is that we all talk about this American dream and becoming successful, but once we actually achieve that, the public wants to make you feel bad for looking after your kids and using your connections. I mean, what else are you supposed to do? Are you... Oh, it's so funny, the irony, because I know that most working class folk, if they ever ran into money, they would lash on the privileges onto their kids instantly. She was scouted for Marc Jacobs beauty at just 13 years old and regularly appears at fashion weeks, film festivals and museum galas where her surname guarantees a front row seat. Listen, you've got to realise that this girl knows no other life. This is the life that she was born into. She knows no other way. Here we are, because I tried to charter a helicopter from New York to Maryland on my dad's credit card because I wanted to have dinner with my camp friend. That's normal to her. And one could argue that you're a privileged rich kid because you can order a pizza to your door within 20 minutes, but there's dying poor kids in Africa right now. You can't blame someone for having better circumstances than what you are having. Well, there's loads of kids in Africa that don't get to have the privilege of going to school for free. Okay? So does that mean that your parents shouldn't have let you go to school? No. You use the privilege. You're born into the USA. You're born into the West. Use the free public schools. Okay? Just because kids in Africa do not have that privilege doesn't mean that you just say, oh gosh, I'm not going to give it up. The same way, just because most kids in the world aren't able to use their credit card to go on yachts and helicopter rides from Manhattan to the airport, doesn't mean that she should give it up. She has the privilege. Let her use it. I mean, are we supposed to become successful? Not to use and make use of what we have? But obviously, once it gets to the point where she is now taking the mick out of people that don't have what she has, that's a problem. But so far, I haven't seen that from her. Carrington Starlight from Toronto, Canada says, maybe try working a 40-hour work week, sweetie. See how the real world lives. Well, I mean, she doesn't need to live that life though. She doesn't need to, okay? I could easily say to this Carrington Starlight in Canada, why don't you learn how to live on $2 a day? See how the rest of the real world lives, because most people don't live on American salaries. Her mother is a Nepo baby. She's a Nepo baby. This is the top rated comment here. I mean, what is the problem with that though? What is the problem with that? What is the problem with, at the beginning of the generation, one member of the family becomes very successful and then he passes that on to the next generation? We talk about generational wealth, but here it's like, that's a bad thing. And I'll be honest, guys, I'm not saying that I sometimes don't feel envious of not having what they have. Of course I want what they have. But I also cannot blame them at the same time for having what they have. It's a natural order of things. If you were born into a rich family, what, are they supposed to throw you on the street and make you poor? Personally speaking, I won't be giving my kids total privilege. I'll give them a tiny bit. And especially once they reach 18, I'll strip that right back. But I can't criticize any family for working hard their entire life, becoming successful, and then passing that on to their kids, their grandkids, and so on. I'm not saying that I support her music or I like what she's doing. I'm just trying to make a balanced argument. Are we really talking from a place of facts, or are we talking from jealousy and envy? Are we just raging out because we never had what she had? Because really and truly, what is she doing wrong? Okay, she's getting ahead with her surname. What's the problem with that? I mean, in my church, my family has a great reputation. I use that for my advantage. Now, is it as great as her? No, but of course, I use my family name and my family status to get ahead. How else would I play it? I mean, would I just throw it away? All in all, guys, I just want to give a balanced view on both sides. Let me know your comments about this down below.